Hi, I'm Chris Roberts, and I'm excited to show you what I've been working on in secret for the past year that I'm unveiling. It's called Star Citizen, and it is essentially all my space games rolled into one. It's Privateer and Freelancer and Wing Commander. And we're also going to allow you to mod to a certain extent and run your own servers. So what we're going to show here is the cinematic sequence that sort of sets up the look and the feel of Squadron 42 that we put together. It's all rendered 100% in the engine using game assets, so everything you see in this sequence is actually how it looks when you're in the game. Well, with the cinematic side that we just showed was from the Squadron 42, which is the military campaign that you'd be fighting. And as I said, everything in that was all rendered inside this engine with these assets. So to give kind of like an, oops, sorry, I went too far. Give kind of an idea of sort of like the level of detail. So it's because I'm focusing on sort of very high-end, high-end PC, or it would be next-gen console, it would be capable of this too, is the level of detail. So for instance, you take a look at the pilot, and let's see if we get a little close, you can sort of see that he's built of about 100,000 faces instead of the typical 10,000 on a current-gen AAA game. And so what it gives you is like all the sort of piping and tubing that's on him and everything, that detail and the creases that you wouldn't normally be able to do with a lower poly count, sort of just adds a little texture, which is why in those cinematic sequences when the camera was really close, it all held up fine. And I'm sitting here inside the hangar deck of the carrier, and it's about 2 million polys for this, so it's just an extra level of fidelity compared to what it has been in the up until now on sort of the current gen stuff. And so for me it just allows just a much more sort of rich environment. And if we take a look here, the same thing on like the ship that we're flying, the same level of detail with all the paneling and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just not going to get into my ship, Wing Commander style. Let's go in, climb in, and of course being able to be fully immersed in a 3D cockpit is like very important for me, so that's all part of what's happening here. And like everything, it's sort of like fully 3D. I'm gonna just like take off a little bit, maybe not go quite as down the side. And you can see, actually, you can see slow down a bit, you can sort of see the side gizmo and the hangar bay door. If I come out in the front, I just come out here, you'll sort of see. One of the cool things with what's been built here is really the ability to scale the technology, like the just level of scale. So like, here I am, I'm zoomed up, I'm close on the cockpit, and we can see me, I'm doing my, if I put my throttle, you can see my throttle, or my feet on the rotor pedals, and if I pull out a little bit, you can see also, like as I'm looking around, you can see my head, the gun is tracking with where I'm looking. So it's just like, it's kind of a fairly cool level of detail. And then of course on the ship that I'm flying as well, it's the same sort of level of, like you can even see like I'm moving my, my Gatling guns are moving around, you can see the wires that are forming. And of course if we pull out even further, I mean, just the level of scale is all there. So the carrier is a kilometer along in size, the fighter I'm flying is 27 meters, see my character is about 1.8 meters. Yeah, all that level of scale is holding up. We're wandering around inside the carrier, on the flight deck, we can be wandering around on the bridge, we get into something, fly, take off, all without any loading screens, all in and out. So it's like a level of scale that hasn't really been done in a space game before. If you see me as I'm like yawing on my input here, you can see the thrusters articulating and thrusting at points on the ship to make it do that. So all the ships in Star Citizen Squadron 42 are like fully simulated like rigid body physics. And just like a real spaceship would be, or just like the lunar lander is, in terms of like if you need to pitch or rotate or yaw or change your attitude, it applies forces at points on the body to do that. So that's what the thrusters are doing. So like if you're seeing me pitching, you'll see it's thrusting, I pitch the other way, that thrusts that way, and the one on the top thrust unrolling, you can see it roll that way, say roll back the other way, and the same if I'm flying around. As I'm flying around, the attitude adjuster are all adjusting to change my velocity vector. Your flight dynamics are also kind of dynamic, so if you get damage at the you take damage on your front thruster versus your back, one of your back thrusters, it will have a different effect on your flight dynamics. Having a heavy weapon load will have a different dynamic than having a light weapon load. And for the Star Citizen side of the universe, it really means a lot, because that the whole point is where you're upgrading your ship, adding parts and components, and so you can sort of mix and match. And because it's all physically modeled, there's just literally going to be millions of combinations. So there's definitely a sort of rock paper scissors to the way the combat will be, which I think is very cool for sort of the Star Citizen side. And even for the Squadron 42 side, it's still very cool, because beyond all the stuff that I've shown you here, you can also manage your energy to your different systems. So you don't have to if you don't want to, it just automatically does it. But if you want to dump some energy from your shields into your maneuvering thrusters, you can. So like in a dogfight, if you're in a turning battle, you may want to take the risk that I'm going to drop my shields to put an extra oomph into my thrusters, so I can get that extra couple of degrees and maybe get on the the guy's tail who's now on my tail. And obviously the scale's kind of cool, right? Because if I'm walking here, it's going to take me a while to get to the end of the carrier. But if I'm flying around in a space fighter, it's much cooler. But it's sort of, so one of the things I'm happiest about is the ability for it to sort of scale and scope from this level all the way out into space. I would say that versus Freelancer, it's more a sort of kind of hyper-real sort of feel, a bit more textured. So all the ships are sort of worn and beaten up and scratched a bit, but it's not sort of retro stylized, which is what Freelancer was. I'm sort of announcing this probably earlier than I would have normally if I was doing it the old-fashioned traditional publisher method. Then this probably, you won't be seeing this for another year until E3 next year or something. So I hope you're all excited by what I've shown. I think there's a lot of potential. I think it's time this genre comes back to the mainstream again. It's been a while since there's been a great sort of visceral first-person space sim. We've got quite a ways to go. There's before the final things all finish will be 2 years, but we're going to be sharing builds and updates for the early backers well before that, 1 year in. And we're inviting the community, people that believe in high-end PC gaming, that believe in, love this genre, to participate with us from the start. So if you please come to robertspaceindustries.com, you can get in on the early ship pre-order program, and that will help us complete this wonderful adventure.